I needed to tame little Sylvia, and I know a lot of us have little versions of ourselves in all of us.
Yeah.
And I wanted to send a message to encourage people to find healing, because although I was very successful at a certain level, like at the time where I was successful the most is the time that I was hurting the most.
Mm.
And so people are running after success, which is great. And whatever success might be, and we'll get into that to them, because success means different things to everyone.
Born and raised in the motherland, chasing a better life. Story of an immigrant.
Concrete pastures.
Concrete pastures.
Hello, family. Welcome back to Concrete Pastures. I'm Nancy Mulemwa Sisi. Whew, exciting today. I am so excited. But first, before we get started, shout out to our sponsor, BetterHelp. Thank you for tuning in, and to anybody who is new to our community. Welcome to the family of your fellow immigrants, your fellow dreamers. We inspire each other through our stories, and we discuss issues that are important to us in the diaspora. We celebrate the joys, the laughs, and the bravery that being an immigrant brings. On today's episode, I am just so grateful to our girl Martine for introducing me to our next guest. She is amazing. She looks gorgeous. I'm so grateful she woke up this early to join us. Her name is Sylvia Dorisme. She is the founder of Zealtechfl Institute, previously known as SWVT, from the Caribbean without her parents at the tender age of 14. With dreams of breaking barriers in her family, Sylvia was determined to be the first college graduate of her immediate family. After graduating with undergrad degree in business administration and a minor in legal studies, she was accepted at the Nova SE University weekend MBA and law program. However, she later discovered a passion for a trade education and insisted on opening a technical school at only 25 years old. This is huge. Miss Dorisme is also authored her first book, Thriving on Purpose, which we're going to get into, Despite Setbacks, which is available on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. I also want to add iBooks as well. Welcome, my
Hello,
first
hello. Thank you for having
Caribbean
me. Yeah.
guest. Oh my
Caribbean
goodness.
and Africa United.
Yes, for
I
sure.
love it. I love
For
it. I've always been mistaken for African, so here I am.
every time all of my Haitian family, whenever they see me, are you from Haiti? They start to speak Creole right away to me, right away. And I'm just like, no, I'm from
Yes, I
Zambia.
get the
They're like,
same. Oh,
wow,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
you
Yes.
look like you're from Haiti. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay.
But
I love Haitian
you know,
food.
we are African. All of
Uh,
us are.
Of
We all
course.
originated from there. My ancestors, my brother did an NDA test and DNA test, and we had ancestors in Congo and
Nice.
yeah, and I consider myself Nigerian because
Nice.
a big part
Nice.
of it was from there. So yeah, we all African. I mean, of course, that's the
100%.
motherland.
No, 100%. So you came from Haiti at the tender age of 14. Could you
14 years
just
old.
give us a little bit of a taste of how life was? If you remember, I mean, it's 14 is young. When you were there, how was it? How was it?
So I've had the privilege of growing up in three different countries before, by the time I was, 15. So I'm very grateful for that. So I grew up in Haiti, Saint Martin, and then of course here in the United States of America. Migrating here, having lived in Haiti and Saint Martin, which both are Caribbeans. Um, the experience, of course, like for many of us immigrants, it was interesting. We love our land, we love our countries, but then the opportunities were limited.
Yes.
But I had a wonderful childhood there. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I grew up with a very entrepreneurial grandmother, a very loving grandmother, a grandmother who believed in education, which is why I have a school now. Didn't even know it was ingrained in me at such an early age. Looking back at my young age growing up in the Caribbean, I'm very thankful to my parents for seeing greatness in me at an early age. I'm thankful for the opportunity they give me. For us immigrants, a lot of people think, oh, you migrated here at 14, and they think, how heartbreaking is that? This is so relevant in our community. So relevant in our community, right? Yeah. So I look at it as if they give me an opportunity. It was heartbroken that I had to leave my family behind at such a young age.
It's painful.
I probably did not understand what was happening, but looking back to them, they were giving me an opportunity. An opportunity that I couldn't see and I didn't understand. And I can't imagine, sometimes we don't give our parents enough grace for the heartbreaks and the tough decisions that they've had to make. How many parents wants to send their children away at 14? They don't want to do that. Yeah. No, but that's the life we live. That's our community. Sometimes that is our only choice to make something of ourselves so we can break all the barriers in our families.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally get it. We don't give our parents enough grace because I can't imagine, like when I was leaving, I was straight from high school and I came here. I remember my mom at the airport, even though she was smiling, like I was bawling my eyes out, even though she was smiling, now being a parent, I know that as a parent, you always want to show strength for your children. And I know that she was breaking apart inside. She was just like, I don't know what's going to happen to my child, because when I got here, she was calling me every single day.
It's really tough. And, we don't realize it until we get older, because I was upset with my parents for a very long time. I was upset when I was dealing with heartaches and challenges as a young girl. I wanted my mother there for me, I wanted to be able to reach to my dad. So then at some point I started blaming them for all the horrible things that were happening to me, and they weren't there for me. I'm like, how could you do this to me? How could you send me to a country where I have no family, I have no friends, I have nobody, and then now I'm at the verge of being homeless, and not to sound conflicting, but a lot of us coming from Africa or the Caribbean or other countries that are less fortunate than America, or so they say. We come from a decent situation where, listen, growing up, we had people working for us, and I didn't think we were poor.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't think we were so poor. And so I felt like growing up, I kind of had a decent childhood where I felt like my parents were at least middle-class family. We were doing good. And so I moved here and I'm like, wow, we were really poor.
You kind of get a wake up when you look at people's mansions here. It's like, oh my God.
No, forget about the mansion. I got to the airport and I'm like, yep, this is definitely a different environment than what I'm used to. This is like the size of the island, just the airport, So I remember when I came here looking at the big billboards and the airport and the size of everything, and I'm just like, whoa, this is huge, But just to go back in a more profound, response to your questions about life, coming here to America, it opened up my eyes in so many different ways that I probably would not have seen growing up in the Caribbean, and I'm thankful for it. But it wasn't an easy process. The immigration process, the life process of it was not easy.
How did you navigate? Because being here at that tender age by yourself, I can't imagine what you went through. I know you share a lot of it in your book. Just give us a little bit of a taste on how you navigated being, I guess, moving from house to house as a girl. For me, the only thing I always worry about is the trust and how everybody's going to treat me. And being at that age, I always used to worry,
Yes.
male figures and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, um, people think I'm a very protective mom now. They were like, "You're so protective, you need to lay off a little bit." And many times they don't realize it's because of the experiences that I've had.
Hmm.
Regardless if he's a boy or a girl, because sometimes they say he's a boy, you have to give him his freedom, you have to allow him to be. It doesn't matter. I know what I experienced as a kid, and I don't think it really has to do anything with genders. It has to do with innocence and being a child and vulnerable. And I was fortunate in some aspect, and I wasn't. I grew up in a Christian household. And thankfully, when I was navigating through houses to house, and by the time I was 18, I had already gone through 13 different homes in my life. So I had a very unstable childhood, very unstable, um, you know, um, teenage years. But again, I grew up in a very Christian household in my early years where there were some strong foundations. And luckily, when I came here to the United States, I I was blessed to live with families with similar or the same values. So that kind of carried me through where I didn't have to worry about certain things.
Mm.
But Christians are not, people are people.
Yes.
Human beings are human beings. That's why I feel like us Christians, sometimes we need God more than ever because we
Yeah.
aren't perfect, right? So there were Christian families where I was vulnerable, where there were situations where the male figure tried to, push their way through. It happens. It bounds to happen in a situation like that. It's very weird, and there are very few people that I know in similar situation that then experience that kind of situation. So it's very relevant in my situation as a teen. I navigated in a way that I knew how. I had to make tough decisions at such a young age, so I had to make decisions based on my faith, my knowledge, and what I learned from the little bit that I had the opportunity to learn from my parents, specifically my grandmother, because my grandmother was the person who really raised me. So a lot of the early values and foundations came from her, and she was a very strong woman, and she was a very disciplined person. She was well respected in her community, and she taught me all the tough lessons really early on. I mean, I'm talking about I'm 5 years old, and she's already talking about you need to marry someone who respects you. I'm talking about being 8 years old, and she's already teaching me business. Like, this is how you charge customers. I used to sell to customers at 8 years old. And she used to give me money, tons of money to hold. I was her savings account, because I was really good with numbers. I was brilliant when it comes to math. And so I was her math genius. So she would sit there when she collects money from customers, and she has a pile of money in front of me at 8 years old, and she's like, okay, put them into pile, put the singles here, the fives here. Like, I literally at 5 years old already knew what money was and counting thousands of dollars. So I was blessed to have these early foundations from my grandmother where yes, I was somewhat book smart, but I was also street smart at an early age.
Yeah.
So then it wasn't easy for people to pull tricks on me. I was the one pulling the tricks, not them. But navigating was okay. I made the tough decisions. I don't regret them. It was difficult. There were many tough nights where I had to be alone crying, like, why do I have to decide what am I going to eat tomorrow? There were times where I ran out of money. There were times where I became homeless. I had to sleep on the bench outside of the bus station. There were times I had to sleep on friends' couches until I was able to rent my own place. And there were times I had no money. I had to go borrow money. Like, it was tough, financially, emotionally, spiritually. It was tough. But again, my early foundations helped me through, my faith in God, and just me having a vision, because at a very young age, I realized how tough life was for my mom, who was a teen mom. I realized how tough life was, and I just wanted not to be that person. I wanted to do better. So I decided that at a very early age. And I continued with that same mindset And that also helped me as well. Yeah, it's a lot.
No, I'm just digesting everything you're saying because that must have been really traumatizing to be by yourself. Because even though I'm here without my mom, my sisters, it was okay for me when because I had my aunt with me as a support system. But I cannot imagine just being all by yourself and having difficult times in nights, days, wondering what tomorrow is gonna bring. That's that's a challenging one.
But
But
here we
it
are. Here we
builds a
are.
lot. It builds a lot of stamina in you, like for whatever to
Yeah.
come.
Yeah.
You're just gonna be like, okay, this one will pass too. We'll let it will pass as well.
The
But thank you
storm
for
never lasts. The storm never lasts is my motto. Like, you know, whatever you're going through, you really have to go through it. You know, it was meant for, like, yes, it's not fair. I never say, okay, it's not fair. It's not fair, but there is a lesson in it. There's a reason why you're going through it. But like I always say, quite often, we focus on what we're going through, not what it makes out of us. We don't realize the blessings and the lessons until years later. Sometimes right away, but sometimes years later. Like, there were certain things I went through. I mean, during the time when I was going through them, my gosh, I'm like, why God? Why me? Like, I battle with God. I'm like, why me? Like, why? And now I look back and I go, oh, that was why.
yes. Yes.
That
No,
was the lesson. Yeah, I'm learning the lessons years later. So I don't believe God intended for us to go through the things that we go through. I mean, sometimes, yeah, stupidity get us there. Sometimes bad
yes.
decisions, but it's never a mistake. It's a lesson, and it strengthens us. Some of us, we look at it as a lesson, and it really strengthens us to be better human beings.
Yeah. No, it's actually better just to look at it that way, that it is a lesson, which is it's the truth. It is a lesson. But when you're in the thick of it, it's just like, why?
No.
We've all had those days where we're just questioning everything, and especially for us believers, you're just like, okay, God, what's happening?
I just had that talk with him the other day. I'm like, really? Like, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
Why?
No,
Why
these
this?
days
Why this?
we've been talking. Like, come on, like, are you here? Are you not? And yeah, it's been one. It's been one of those.
Yes,
Like, it's the beginning
absolutely.
of the year. Like, let's have a chat. But so during that time, you are going through house to house. How was your immigration status? Do you get your how did you get your papers at this point? Because I know you came from Haiti, you probably came on a visa. But how did you get your papers to be established to this point?
My immigration story is so, I hope it will give you hope, and it's also depressing at the same time. I was blessed and lucky, very lucky. And I say this because I have friends who has been in this country for years, 20, 30 years, and they're still unable to get their legal status.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I battle with God, but I look at the blessings. I really do. I got here not as a teen. I have no idea how the immigration system works. I have no idea what I was even doing here. It was like I was dropped off in a way, So like, I had no idea how immigration worked. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even know I was undocumented until like one time I went to look for a job and they were like, you need legal papers. I'm like, what? I'm a teenager, so my teen friends from high school, they're all bragging about how they got a job. So I'm like, oh yeah, I want a job too. I want to work and make money. And I go look for a job, and they were like, you need social security, you need driver's license or valid ID, and I'm like, oh yeah. And then I go back and I'm looking at all my documentations. I'm like, oh, I don't have that one. Am I supposed to have those? So I then realized that I was undocumented, and I was like, oh, so how do we fix this? Because I don't know. I was blessed and lucky to still be in my teen years.
Oh,
So
nice.
I was a minor immigrant without company. So
Wow.
I'm kind of like state properties. I don't have any family. I'm the government. The government pretty much owns me at that point. I'm a teenager, and I was this close to going through the system, the foster care system.
Oh my God.
Yes, yes. I'm pretty much the property of the United States because I'm a teen. I don't have parents. I don't have family here. Nobody. So it was either go back or submit myself to whatever programs they had available. I was very blessed, like I said, and lucky to have the church people that I had in my life. And I met this incredible lady who worked in an immigration office before, had knowledge of immigration. I had no idea what she was doing. Again, I was like 15, 16. I had no idea what she was doing.
Yeah.
And then all I remember, she was saying, okay, I found a program to put you through, sign here, sign there. And then I had to work under the table. I mean, sorry, I have to admit it, but I had to work doing hair, doing whatever that I had to do to come up with the money. And my mother was able to help me partly with the money for the immigration documents. And we submitted my documentations. And then if I remember correctly, again, this was decades ago, so I'm trying to remember all the facts here, but if I remember correctly, I went, they sent the paperwork, went to immigration appointment in Miami, which was the scariest appointment in my life. In my life, because they took me away from my guardian, my legal guardian at that time, and interviewed me like there was no tomorrow. I was in there for 3 hours being interviewed.
Whoa.
Imagine as a teenager how that must have felt
3
like.
hours. Oh my God.
3 hours interview. I was intimidated, crying, sweating. Questions were being asked that I'm like, I don't even know how to answer them because I was not prepared for them. So it was just like interrogation, like just literally drilling me to find out the truth of whatever I guess I put on the documentations.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what I was doing. And then finally, I was released after 3 hours from the immigration interview. Went with my legal guardian at that time, which is the lady who decided to help me. Instead of sending me through the system, she decided to become my legal guardian. Her name is Sheila, my guardian angel. And then we left. And then a few months later, I got a letter saying that I was able to stay in the United States and I could file for legal status.
Wow.
And so within a year after that, I was able to get all my documentation, file for a green card, and became a naturalized resident here in the United States.
Wow.
When I tell you I was blessed and lucky.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I was blessed and lucky. And
because they could have just easily put you back on a plane and back to.
Right. Well, I believe that's what the interview was for. The interview was to determine if I get, deported or stayed here in the United States.
Yeah.
And that's what the interview was for. So they released me, and I guess that I had to be supervised. And then a month later, I got the letter that I was able to stay, and I was able to file for my legal status, got my Social Security and driver's license, and then it was go time from there. And that's something I really don't take for granted, because I'm telling you, I went to school, I went to high school with people, with friends from Africa, from the Caribbean, from Central America, and they were shocked, like, what, you got what, how is that possible?
Yeah. Everybody, like all of us as immigrants, we do, everybody hides their status, whether you're even a US citizen or whatever. Nobody talks about their status. No. Even when somebody like asks, it's now that we are openly talking about it, but because the journey is so tense. Like it's so challenging, and when you come out of it, you don't even believe it yourself. For like, oh my God, I'm finally out of it. Yes. And you it's a blessing. It's a blessing.
It's a blessing, but the trauma from that interview stuck with me for a very long time. And, imagine I'm crying to them, bawling my eyes out, and I'm being interviewed by 2 parole officers who didn't care whether I was a teenager or an adult. It was hard. It was traumatizing,
Yeah.
and so I can't imagine what we have to go through. Like I can, but like what I'm basically saying is that it's so unfair
Yeah.
what we have to experience,
Yeah.
especially as colored people.
Yeah.
But you know what, Nancy, here's the thing about me when it comes to immigration experiences. As as horrible as the experience was for me, and as much as I'm against it, many times I blame our home countries for it. I blame our home countries for it. And this is like the more political side of things, of course.
Yeah.
Because we have so much in our homelands. We have so much, but we can't make it work, and we have to run away to look for life elsewhere.
100%. I agree with you. I agree with you. Almost everybody who's been on this platform has talked about it, whether it's my Zambian family and everybody. And we talk about it as African as a whole, and we talk about as world as a whole, because the reason why we leave our countries is for a better life.
Yes, that's the main reason.
If we had that better life in our countries, nobody will be leaving. Like South Africans don't really leave their countries like that. Being an immigrant can be hard. Having been away from my home country for over 20 years has allowed me to experience these hardships firsthand. Throughout my journey, I've had a lot of challenges that were hard to bear. Juggling adjustment to a new country, obtaining my immigration papers, getting married, having children, establishing my career, and finding time for myself. Even though I've always had faith, I also relied on therapy, which gave me the tools to cope with the issues life brought me. My fellow dreamers, let's remove the stigma around therapy and normalize seeking help with today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp offers licensed therapists who are trained to listen and help you. Go to betterhelp.com/concrete pastures for 10% off your first month of therapy with BetterHelp, and get matched with a therapist who will listen and help in as little as 48 hours. Like they're literally given everything on the platter for a lot of them. Not everybody, but for a lot of them, they come already with green cards, with everything when they come here, because their country is already established.
Yes.
To a certain standard compared to the rest of us in Africa.
Yes.
But even though it is considered a developing country, I don't know why, but it's one of those. I hope the future, like the future generation, gets it better than what you and I, experienced in the immigration process. It's definitely tough when it comes to acquiring your papers, and all of us have different journeys. That's why we are here to share our stories, because someone might relate to your story and someone might relate to my story. It's definitely traumatizing. I had to do a lot of therapy for it.
Therapy. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, you have, childhood trauma stays with you, and if you don't take care of it, it pops up in so
Even when
many
you take care of
areas.
it still does.
Yeah. It's like it's. I heard Kevin Hart conversation with Jay Shetty, and he was talking about monsters that he has, and monsters is just the things that pop up, that habits or whatever patterns that you do, and he puts them aside, and he's able to, he's at the point where he's able to tell them, stay there. You don't have to come up or whatever. Not exactly in those words, but at least he's able to like sit down. We don't have to go there and all of that. So have you
Yeah.
gotten to that point where you can take a look at what you experienced having gone through um, your therapy? Have you gotten to that point where I can still experience these things even if they pop up, I'm able to handle?
Oh yes, definitely. Therapy is what helped me, and that's what inspired me to write my book, Thriving on Purpose.
Wow.
Because that's when I realized, when I was doing therapy, I realized, wow, I've been thriving because I had a purpose, which is great. But then everything else is broken and damaged.
Mm.
So that was the only great thing. I'm thriving on purpose. That's great. That's amazing. I'm, creating businesses. I'm giving people opportunities. I'm, doing X, Y, and Z. That's just great in the eyes of the public.
Yeah.
But, the inner side of the Sylvia that Sylvia should love and appreciate was damaged and broken and, literally in pieces. And like you said, when you don't take care of your childhood traumas, it eventually it is caught up to you.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me.
Mm.
For years, I mean, first of all, let's just be clear. Our communities, we don't really talk about
Yeah.
therapy.
Yep.
That's the number one thing. I didn't even know what was therapy until years later. And I discussed that in my book. I didn't even know that existed. I didn't even know I was experiencing childhood traumas.
Mm.
Until somebody pointed out to me, and I'm like, what is that? And I'm like, oh, childhood traumas. Yes, I did this. Oh, yep, that is totally me. And then that's when I started noticing, wow, this is why I do certain things the way I do. And this is why I attract certain people in my life.
Yeah.
And so then one day it's just I'm at like the best phase of my life. I've had good money in the account. I didn't have to worry about bills paying. All the bills are automatic. They're just going through every month. Life is great. I just relaunched my business and had all sort of political figures in my office supporting the cause. I'm hosting nonprofit organizations and helping my community. Things are great in my life.
Mm.
My son's healthy. Things are going good for the first time ever with his dad. Thank God. And then I woke up one day and I felt empty. Literally, like it felt like I literally got hit by a truck and I couldn't get up. I couldn't get out of bed. My world was just pitch black. Despite the fact that everything was going great. It was literally the first time in my life where I could take a breather. And I took that breather and it was like the biggest mistake ever, because when I did, then everything just started hitting me at once. And it was just like, okay, I need to do something about this here. Otherwise it's going to paralyze me, emotionally paralyze me. And that's when I went for help, got a therapist, started going through the process, started doing the work, the inner work. And
the most important work you ever do for
yes,
yourself.
the most important thing I've ever done for myself. I thought, oh, breaking barriers, becoming the first college graduate, building $1 million business. I thought doing X, Y, and Z was the work.
Yeah.
And then I realized, no, you're broken. You're literally damaged.
Yeah.
Damaged goods. And so I had to do the inner work.
Yeah.
And that's when I started realizing who I really was and what was important to me and what I needed to do. And I started my healing process. So the book, when I wrote the book, it was literally therapy for me. It was a way. I started journaling. Yeah, it was therapy. It was me journaling my life. And then one day I'm like, I want to put that in a book. I mean, people always, like my friends, they always say, Sylvia, you should write a book, like your life stories, things you've been through from, being an immigrant here and being a young business owner and graduating college at an early age, going through marriage and divorce and all of it, like just all of it. And so they thought your story needs to be told. And I'm like, I don't have time. It's not my thing. I can't put my life out there like that, But then when I was going through my healing process after having that breakdown, I started journaling, and then that journal became kind of like a book, and so the inner work is important. It's so important. It's so crucial. And those childhood traumas, those life traumas, because everybody, we all have experienced some forms of trauma, right? Like, it's not just me. You have my mom, who's a teen mom that I've blamed for so many things. I look back at her, and now I look at her, I cherish her, because I'm like, how did she do it? I can't imagine being 15 years old and being a mom and being a wife, and no. So for years I can see why she felt like she was a failure, and she has this inferiority complex where if I even approach her in a certain way, she'll be offended. And I didn't understand why she'll be offended. Is because she felt like, well, I sacrificed my life for you to give you this life, and you don't even respect me.
Yeah.
And it's not that I didn't respect her. It's not that I was doing anything wrong, but it's her traumas replaying. Like, oh, well, if I didn't have you early, I could have gone and, become a nurse like I've always wanted to become. I could have done this X, Y, and Z, but then I give birth to you guys, and you guys kind of stole that from me. And it's wrong for her to think that way as a mother, but I can understand why she could think that way, So, taking care of your traumas is important. I as a school owner, I have seen it every single day. And I talk about that in many of my interviews. My students were part of the reasons why I wrote my book as well, because I saw how they allowed trauma to hinder them from real success in life. Quite often I sit with some of them that are, in my eyes, to me, I'm looking at them, not just in the physical aspect, but like, they're brilliant. They're very smart people, but they've experienced so many traumas in their life that it's almost impossible to get out of the mindset that they're a victim.
Yeah.
Or there's no one out there who cares enough for them. Or therapy is not a Black person thing or a colored person thing. Or they're not, there were so many negative, mindset around our traumas in our communities that we aren't doing enough work to bring light, that it's okay to find healing. It's okay to cry. It's okay to get therapy. It's okay to build a community. It's okay to let the past go and become a better version of yourself. And most importantly, it's okay to be selfish, to work on yourself.
Well said. It's okay the last part. It's okay to be selfish. I think a lot of us are scared of that, to take time, even away from our family members. I did it. I recently did it. Something was triggered. Like you said, we've all gone through a lot of trauma, and it's through the journey that you're going through. Something might trigger you. You think you're over it, and something might trigger it. You're not going to be at the same level that you were before, but it'll be on a different stage or different level of triggering. So I took some time off, literally, to just work on myself, meditate, meet with my therapist, and meditate every single day, and just check in with myself. A lot of us immigrants, we are too much on a goal. Every single day we are on a goal. Something happens back home where we want to fix everything. We fix it, but then it leaves us empty inside. And then something happens to us. We just keep going. You get sick, okay. You take medication and you keep it going. We never stop to check in with how am I feeling inside, because of how we are raised. A lot of us,
we don't.
We are told to toughen up, bundle it up. I've said it time and time and again here. Just toughen up. You don't connect with your emotions. There's no time to connect with your emotions, because
survival mode. We as immigrants, we are on survival mode, and that's what I'm learning, how to not live on survival mode now. And it's a very tough process, because that's, like you said, that's all we've learned. They're literally ingrained that in us at such a young age. Be resilient, be strong. You know, can you imagine when you're crying, when you're hurt, and they're telling, don't cry. What are you crying about?
Don't cry. And then
Emotionally.
I know, and when you cry, you're releasing something. And if you don't release that emotion, it just stays in you and it's gonna come out. This is why people are acting out. They're like, oh, why is someone acting out? Because they haven't released their emotions. You guys are telling them, oh, don't cry, don't do that, don't show emotions. When you connect with your emotions, you free yourself.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
freeing
That's
yourself.
where I'm at in life right now.
Yes, you're giving yourself a gift. Connect with yourself. Talk to yourself. Whatever stage you're on, and we're all going through something. And this is the biggest thing that I tell people, to always show up with kindness, because
Yes.
you don't know that
Yes.
what you're going through. I don't know what you're going through. We've all learned to show up smiling.
Yeah.
It's the biggest suit that we all wear. We show up and we're smiling on our social media, everywhere we go, at work, we show up smiling, but then no one knows what's going on inside. But when we work on ourselves and we take time to connect with ourselves, we show up authentically.
That's absolutely right. And that's one of my rules in my life now. In my life, this is not something that I've always practiced, but I adopted it recently. And before I go to bed, after I, do my routines, I ask myself, did you smile today? Not just for the world, but did you smile for yourself?
Yeah.
Did I smile for myself? Not just for the world. Look at me, I'm strong, I'm this, I'm that, because, and that's the thing. For years, I thought the word strong was a compliment. Oh, you're such a strong woman. And I'm just like,
me too.
I'm like, yes, absolutely. Power to the people. I am strong.
Yeah.
And I utilize that to bottle up all these emotions. And and it's like, wow, yes, I'm strong. I am strong, but I'm also a very, I'm very human. I'm a human being.
Yeah, I'm emotional too.
I have emotion, and so because of that mindset that I'm so strong and resilient, I would not ask for help.
Yeah.
I would not ask for help, because if I would not cry in front of people. I had an issue with crying, because every time I cried, I would slap myself. I'm like, nope, you're not weak. Why are you crying? Don't. And I'm like, my God.
There's so many things, I started to read your book. There's so much that's aligned with my life. And this is the thing that I say, that when we go through life, there's somebody else going through the same thing. And it's so aligned, and that's why we can see ourselves in people's stories. And this is the beauty of sharing our stories in the way that we share our stories. I love the cover of your book.
Thank you.
The fact that it's a woman standing, and the branches are more of like hair almost looking, and then the roots. I just love the whole cover.
Thank you.
And even the message, I love that you start with a quote on there of a mountain, and how you climb the mountain, and you either climb it or you go to the other side. I don't want to give away too much.
Your choice.
Yes. We all have those mountains, whatever it is in anybody's life. And I right away, I was like, wow, we all do have our mountains that we carry. For me, I call them crosses. We all have our crosses that we carry. And show up with kindness for everybody.
Show up with kindness, because you just never know. And this is something that I'm teaching my son, who's 10 years old now. I'm teaching him, you need to not just be nice, because we're thought to be nice. Yeah. But being nice, or what's the intention? I can be nice and then turn around and stab you in the back with a knife,
Yeah.
But it's being kind that we need to understand. Like, I have this mindset. Before I went through my healing process and journey, I remember when someone would overreact, the first thing in my head was to hit them back where it hurts. You hurt me, I'm hurting you,
Yeah.
But I've learned through my journey, I've learned that, like you said, people, they react sometimes based on the traumas that they've experienced.
Yeah.
So I've used this tactic where when they overreact, I tend to calm myself down and respond to them in a kind way. It's not that the way they responded to me is nice. It's not nice. I could hit them back. And when I hit back, I hit back below the belt.
Yeah.
But then how does that make me a better human being or a better person?
Yeah.
And how do I know by me hitting below the belt, this isn't like the last thing that person needs to commit suicide or hurt themselves or even like think less of themselves, because people who are healed and are at peace with themselves don't react certain ways.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So quite often when people react to me in that manner, in my mind, I'm like, okay, yeah, that person's going through something, been through something, hasn't really found peace with their life. And I'm not about to let them, crap on my, peaceful life.
Yeah.
So I respond to them in a kind way. And you'll be surprised how many times that same person realized that I was not willing to match their energy, as they say these days,
Yeah.
that they calm down and even thank me or like, reverse their energy. Like, okay, yeah, she's not about to go there with me, or she understands. It's kind of like she understands me.
Yes. Yes. Or she hears me. Because
She hears me.
everybody wants to be heard. And when someone doesn't feels in any way, shape that they are not being heard, they're going to raise their tone and they'll keep raising it and they'll keep raising it. I go through it at work with a lot of our clients.
Oh, microaggression. That's fun.
Yeah, they love things to go their way. And I'm just like this. The same way you see me here, it's the same way I am at work. And it's just, then nobody would actually even come back and apologize. Literally, whether it's the same day or a different day. I'm so sorry, I was going through something. It's just, oh, I'm so sorry, my employees, I needed to pay my employees something. They'll come and apologize. Right. It's because I've just chosen this life of showing up with kindness. And a lot of people in my career, being in the corporate world, everybody just kept telling me, you're too nice, you're too nice. I cannot change that. No. And I don't want to change that.
No.
Because I've tried to toughen up, because I had a manager. She's from Asia. They're very tough for a lot of them, not everybody, but for a lot of them, because of the way their upbringing, they're very tough. You can never do enough. So when I first became a supervisor, I kind of like tried to mimic the way she managed. I couldn't do it.
No,
I couldn't, because it was not me. It was not my personality. I just found myself suffocated. I'm like, no. I checked myself really quick, and I went back to being me. And I have more of a following that way of my team compared to me being so tough, and everybody has their way. And showing up kind has worked. Yeah. Showing up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not preaching for anyone to be a doormat,
No, of course not.
You have to know how to stand up for yourself. But at the same time, there are ways we handle things, regardless if we're standing up for ourselves. There is a way to do things, and there's a way certain people handle things. You can see where they're at in life.
Yeah, no, for 100%. The thing is, when I'm stern, I'm stern. And when I'm showing up, just showing up is just showing up. Your book, let's get into it before we get
into the book. Yes,
let's get into the book.
Thank you for reading my book. I was worried. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's not going to have enough time to do it. Like, you're amazing.
Oh, thank you. I do my research, and I want to make sure that I do justice to someone who's coming on. Even your lonely times, I'm like, oh, this seems like me. These were my alone times. I have so much confidence in my alone times. I'm just like, and then when I'm in front of people, I'm like, oh, I don't even know how I do this. I'm an introvert, so I no idea. It had to grow on me. But thank you for sharing your book. What inspired you? I know you've spoken a little bit of it, that your students have also inspired you to write the book. Your therapy inspired you to write your book. What is the core of why you wrote the book? Like, what do you want people to get out of your book?
Yes. Thank you for asking me that question. So many things inspired me to write the book, but like I said, it was a form of therapy for me. And I really wanted to share my stories because I feel like our stories aren't being told enough from the immigration point of view, you know, the immigrants' point of view, rather.
Yeah.
You know, we go through so much.
Say that again.
We go through so much, and people usually see the success end of it, not the struggle.
Yeah.
And there are so many little girls like me, whether they're from, you know, Central or South America, you know, or Africa or the Caribbean, because those are the areas that suffer the most from these type of experiences. I can't really say Europe because, you know, they get the easiest pass to come to this country. So
Yep. It's the truth. I mean,
Right.
we're not saying anything that's not out there. It's out there.
Right. And Asia, of course. So like I wanted to share my book because I wanted little Black girls like me to find hope. And every one of us have a little girl in us, every single one of us. So it was just literally me taming little Sylvia and sharing it with the world, because little Sylvia was out of control while big Sylvia was doing big things, you know.
She popped up. She's like, "Hey, hold up."
She's like, I'm here, I want to have a party. And I'm like, not right now, you know. So I needed to tame little Sylvia. And I know a lot of us have little versions of ourselves in all of us.
Yeah.
And I wanted to send a message to encourage people to find healing, because although I was very successful at a certain level, like at the time where I was successful the most is the time that I was hurting the most. And so people are running after success, which is great, and whatever success might be, and we'll get into that to them, because success means different things to everyone, right?
Yes.
You know, I really wanted to share that you can go after success, but if you don't do the inner work, at the end of the day, success means nothing.
Yeah. You're not gonna be able to enjoy your fruits.
You have to. And when I broke down and I went downhill, I didn't find value in my success. Although I had it, you know, I built the school. I built, you know, we've served over 6,000 people. I have a really healthy, bouncing little boy. Like things were going, I can travel wherever I want to. I go to Europe, whatever, you know. Yeah. But then I was broken inside. And so I want people to really take the time to heal. You know, it's okay to go to therapy. It's okay to forgive yourself. Whatever mistake you made before, it's okay. Many times in our young days, we don't understand what is happening to us. And so therefore we can't blame ourselves for it. We can only forgive ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay to forgive our parents. It's okay to forgive. It's okay to forgive, not just you, but those who've done wrong to you. Yeah. I mean, I have met people in their 50s, 60s, and they're holding grudges from when they were in their 20s. How could you live life like that? I mean, I'm not saying to, again, be a doormat where you have your doors open to be hurt over and over again. Yeah. You can create healthy boundaries and still forgive and love at a distance. Yeah. And I didn't quite really know how to do that. I was one of those people, you're either on my side or you're not. Once I cut you off, I cut you off. Like there was no forgiving. There was no forgiving. Like, oh, you done me wrong. Like, especially when I was good to you, you've wronged me. You're done. You are done. You could be dead. That's your problem. Go to hell, go to heaven. That's between you and the Lord. I was literally that person. It didn't matter to me. But when I started going through my healing, I realized that it was okay to forgive those people. Like, why am I giving them free rent for? Like, they were literally living in my head rent free. Yep. And while I'm sitting here building all these animosity, fighting with myself, these people are moving on with their life. They forgot about me. Some of them didn't even remember what they did wrong, you know? It's like I'm fighting with myself. And you know what? We're laughing about it, but guess what? Yeah. It's very relevant in our community. We do that. I mean, my mother is still now angry. It's very true. I watch my mother, like she's been divorced for years from my dad, years. And the level of animosity this woman has against the man who's remarried, it's like, lady, move on. It hurts, but we have to move on, because when we don't move on from all the pain and suffering, when we don't move on from all the pain and suffering in our lives, it really hinders us from it hinders us from growing. I never felt free once I wrote this book and I found healing, I felt this level of freedom that I've never experienced before.
I was going to ask you that. It's very
And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, what was this freedom? Where was it years ago? I literally, I could have given myself a heart attack all these years, literally battling and fighting with myself, you know? But a lot of the animosities, a lot of the painful situation that happened to me and how I held on to them. It's so easy for us to hold on to our traumas, you know, than to seek healing.
Yeah. Because that's your comfort zone.
Right?
You know it. It's familiar. Yeah, and you can always go to it and like, he did me this, he did me that. Yeah. You don't want to be, you want to continue to be a victim. Yeah.
No, and that's what I want to encourage people to really let go and find freedom within. Find freedom within. Like, I'm so unbothered. I am so unbothered by so many things in my life that used to bother me. And by doing that, I've found so much more time for myself. You know, like I had an issue saying no to people, and that was part of the traumas that I experienced. Like, I say yes, but then I get in my car and I'm like, Mother Moses, why did I say yes to this? I know I don't want to do it. And I say yes, so I've learned to say no. And that no comes with a period at the end. I don't have to give an explanation. It's a no. No is a complete sentence. I've had to learn no was a complete sentence. And many of us, we don't know how to do that.
Oh, girl, I learned how to say no and no explanations. It's like, okay, let's not explain. No. Okay.
I don't have to explain. I'm sorry, I can't make it to your event. It's a no. I don't have to tell you why I cannot make it to your event. Yeah. If it doesn't work for me, it doesn't work. Most of the time, people don't care for the reason. You can't make it. That's all they heard. Mentally, psychologically, that's all they heard. You can't make it. Everything else, even if you say my mother died, oh, they'll acknowledge it. Oh, I'm so sorry your mother died, but then they're gonna remember you can't make it.
Yeah.
That's the part they're gonna move on with. She can't make it. You know, the but not important. I mean, granted, if it's a family, friends, I mean, you know, someone you're close with, there's a level of relationship there. But no is a complete sentence. And if it doesn't fit my lifestyle, if it doesn't, you know, aligns with who I am. I mean, talking about being triggered, I had to learn environments that triggered me.
That's true. Yeah.
And I'm like, why am I here? Why am I sitting on this table right now, being deterred, like literally being devoured by people who don't care about me, or dealing with their own traumas rather, and they're projecting it on me.
Yeah.
Why am I here? Yeah. And it triggers me, and now I'm like thinking all kind of thoughts. No, I'm not going to that table. There's other tables. There are other tables for me, and those are the tables that I'm going to, not that one. So I've had to learn to manage environments, people, situations that triggers me. And when I get triggered, I've had to remind myself that healing is a process. And I talk about that in my book. Yeah. Because quite often we think healing is a one-time deal. You know, when you pay for an item, you know, you buy it one time, you slide the card, you pay for it, and it's an investment. You constantly have to slide that card and put in the time, put in the investment. It's an investment. And quite often when you're triggered is when you have to put in that investment. Yeah. So when you're triggered, it's not the end of the world. You have to acknowledge that you're being triggered. That's the hard part. Being able to acknowledge that, oh, I'm being triggered. Now, don't be a maniac now and think, oh, every little thing triggers me. I'm talking about things that really triggers you to the point where it takes you back into a situation, a position, or mindset that you shouldn't be in. Yes. Yeah. Well, you know, you have to say no, and you have to be able to love that person at a distance, avoid that environment, or just simply say no with a period at the end. There's no explanation needed because it's good for you, it's good for your mental health, and it's good for your journey. And that's that.
I love
Yeah.
it. Period at the end. Love it.
Period at the end. No explanation needed.
There's so many people that are writing something, working on something. I'll give you an example. When I was working on the podcast, I did a lot of my intros. I recorded my own stories in here, which are on the podcast. But prior to launching, the level of anxiety I had, it's so exposing of yourself. How did you deal with that? Because if there's somebody writing a book, working on something, and they want to launch something, how did you deal with that anxiety? Because I couldn't sleep before the death.
I do, I do suffer from anxiety. I mean, it's a given.
It's a given.
Quite
It comes
often
with
when we
that.
go through, it comes with that. Quite often when we go through severe traumas in our lives,
Yep.
anxiety
I never
comes with
had it until I had my own traumas. Then I now suffer from it.
Yes.
Actually.
Right. So I do suffer from trauma, from anxieties. And I remember this a couple years ago. We had an event hosted at our school where they were honoring one of our congressmen here, our first Black congressman from this area.
Mm.
And I remember that when they chose our school, it was a big deal because, like, oh my gosh, little me, and they selected us. This is great. This is awesome.
Right.
And I had to give a speech in the beginning about our small business, how small business are being impacted by the government. It's a subject that I'm very comfortable with.
Yeah.
Yet, right before that event, I had a nervous breakdown.
Mm.
And here's my office. We call her our office mommy, Wanda, who's been with me for 10 years. Here she is. She knows how I am. She's like, wait a minute. No, not you. Not right now. She's like, you do this every time, but you always do amazing when you go out there. So here she is finning me in my office, and they're calling my name to go out there. And she's finning me with like a piece of paper. And then my other friends like massaging my shoulders, and like my assistant's telling me, you can do this, like go out there and nail it. You can do it. But I had a nervous breakdown right before that event. My anxiety kicked in, my hands shaking, I'm sweating, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this. And they're announcing my name out there, so I had to go out there. So I went to the mirror in my office and I slapped myself. I literally slapped myself to snap out of it.
Mm.
That was the first time I had to do something like this, but it was either that or there was no way I was going to go out there. So I had to tell everyone, please give me a minute, get out of my room right now, get out of my office. I need a minute to myself. And I had to look at myself in the mirror and I said, little girl, whatever you're dealing with right now, you need to get out of your body. This is not the time for it. You need to get out of my body right now. And I had to literally talk to me in the mirror and smack that little girl out of me. I mean, it sounds a little psychotic in a way,
Yeah.
but literally took that much from me. And I slapped myself so hard. You can see the makeup and the paper that I was holding. No one knew why there was so much makeup on the paper. But later I'm like, oh, it's because I slapped myself. So I literally had to slap little Sylvia out of me, calm her down. Just like you talk about how Kevin Hart knows how to control that little inner demons. Yeah. I had to slap her out of me. I'm like, no, not right now. Not. And I slapped myself, got myself together, shook it out of me, walked out there and spoke like nothing happened.
Mm.
So what is my message for someone who is dealing with anxiety? And just fears of doing what they should be doing? Slap it out of you. You can you need to smack it out of you. And I'm not saying just physically.
Yeah.
You need to tame it. Because when you're dealing with those anxieties, that means you're about to do something great. Yeah. It doesn't just come just because, you're about to, it comes out when you're about to do something great, something meaningful, something life-changing. That's when it comes out. Yeah. You have to know how to control it. That's when you have to be strong enough to say, no, not today. not today.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did the school come about, the Zell Technical Institute?
Um, so Zeal Technical Institute, we started back in 2009 during the economic crisis, the housing economic crisis. And I was like many residents or citizens where I couldn't get a job because I was underqualified or overqualified with having my undergrad degree. And now I'm in grad school. So I worked for a school for a couple of years where I was the director of student services, which was a technical school. So when I left that position, things didn't work out there. I started looking for jobs, couldn't find anything. I wanted to give back. That's the thing. That's the funny thing. Even though we are a for-profit school, we started our mission just wanted to give back. So then we started a training center to provide continuing education for healthcare professionals. Because when I did research, I wanted to help people. I'm like, how can I help? How can I help people? And when I did my research, healthcare was still hiring. The healthcare, and they were still hiring. So I said, okay, well, let's do things to help people get in the healthcare field. And that was the idea. It started from there as a small storefront school that we literally got a 600 square feet building, storefront building. That's how we started 13 years ago, going on 14 now. And we just wanted to give back. And then more people kept asking for more programs. And so we just kept adding programs, and we just keep growing from that little store to a 2,000 square feet, and 2,000 square feet didn't work. We went to 6,000 square feet, 6,000 square feet didn't work. Now we moved to 12,000. It just kept growing to the point where I realized that it wasn't even about me anymore. It wasn't even about me. And sadly, going back now, I'm looking at it. I said, God wanted this for me, even though I fought against it. I mean, mind you, I wanted to become an attorney, and I give up that goal for the school. And so and I fought against the idea of continuing from, many times. When I went through my divorce, it was very difficult, incredibly difficult, having to fight in court all the time, having to fight for custody. Excuse me. It really took a toll on me, and I wanted to make the decision to just close the school and move to Texas. And I couldn't, because it was just, the vision was beyond me. It wasn't just a Sylvia's vision anymore. It became apparent that the community needed me, it needed us, it needed the school, the people that we served, they needed us. So a lot of people were invested in the vision. So I just couldn't betray them and just get up and leave like that. Wow. So we just kept growing and growing. And now we have a great school that is providing healthcare professional for our biggest hospital here, Lee Health Hospital, and NCH, all the major hospitals. And we're very fortunate and blessed to be able to do what we do, because we have a very specific target market, which focus more on the immigrant area. So we have a lot of immigrants from the Caribbean, Central America, South America, and other countries. And then we also have the underserved community here.
Yeah.
And we attract them because, like I always said, it's all about foundation. Our school understand them because it was funded by someone like them.
Yeah.
You understand? So our environment promotes this level of comfort that they may not be able to find in another setting that's more rigid or more corporate, or even, just not welcoming to our people. So yeah, it's a blessing. I'm very fortunate. When I say fortunate, I'm very fortunate to do what I do, to make to change the lives that we've changed over the years. We've been around for 13 years now. This year we're celebrating 14 years, and now we want to buy our own buildings. We're doing more programs. We want to go online. So it's exciting. It's really exciting, and I'm really grateful to the community for supporting my vision, because in the beginning it was not easy. I'm just, a little it's itsy bitsy 25-year-old, you
Yeah.
know, who had with the little pitchy voice trying to, you know, pitch my ideas to people. And it's like, how old are you? And I looked like I was 19, even though I was 25.
Yep.
So it was very difficult for them to accept that this is something, you know, that is worth of looking at.
Yeah.
So after several years, they realized, oh yeah, this girl knows what she's doing.
The
And
hassle came back, huh? The hassle from your childhood, from your
yes,
grandmother.
oh yes, oh my family. Then there are two things I'm grateful for. My family, well, I'm grateful for many things, but when it comes to my family, I didn't have the greatest childhood. Yes, it wasn't fair that I was separated from them at a young age. Yes, my mother wasn't the best mom. She couldn't be. Even when, I mean, some people were lucky they had the support to be. I just feel like she didn't have the support to be the mother that she really wanted to be.
Yeah.
You know, and my dad not being in my life for years, I look at it and it hurts. And it's like, dang, I wish I had that. I see people having these relationship with their parents and I envy it. I'm like, I wish I had that, you know. But they they did two things right. One of them is they introduced us to God at a very young age. We didn't have a choice. We were built in a church, you know. So we were able to we were introduced to God at a very young age. And we also were introduced to business. Like the hustle were built in us. We've had family shops. We've our entire family that we all very entrepreneurial. My brother was an Apple authorized dealer at the age of 22.
Wow.
He was the only one in the Caribbean. He's the one really, he's the real hustler. He's the one who really started the whole thing for us. And my sister was an entrepreneur. My and then me, of course, and then my other sister is studying entrepreneurship right now. So my parents did that right. They always got us involved in the business. They always trust us to run the business. There were times where my mom went on vacation and we were the one running the shop.
Yeah.
And we were teenagers, we were kids.
Yeah.
And we're the one running the shop, you know, opening, selling, making deposits, you know, ordering stuff. It's been ingrained in us at a young age. So definitely the hustle, the entrepreneurship spirit is something that we're blessed to have in our family. And thanks to our parents, they didn't know what they were doing, but they did it right.
100%.
It made us fearless.
Yeah. Listen, in life, you can either continue to make excuses for yourself
Right.
or you use what you were given. So you are using everything that you were given that transpired in your life. Everything didn't go to waste. Nothing went to waste. So you're using everything.
Thank
Your
you so much.
story that you are telling us. No, of course. Thank you for honoring us with your story.
Absolutely.
Your story you're sharing with us, the whole world, in your book, and everything else that you went through, and then your entrepreneurship from your grandparents to your mom to now serving a whole community. Our
Yes. And now
immigrant
my son, he's doing it too.
Yes, and then you're laying the foundation for your son as well, and seeing the hustle that he's seeing in you. Kids
Well,
watch
he's learning
everything.
it now. I already teach him. He's homeschooled, and I'm teaching him. He's studying financial literacy right now, and
Yeah,
he's building his lemonade stand. Like he's already learning business because, you know, it's not that he may not become a business owner. I don't really put a title or a label on him. Whatever he wants to become, as long as he's happy, that's what matters to me. But I have to teach him what I know
yeah,
best. And those are the things that I know best. So I have to ingrain him. I have to, like my grandmother did.
yeah.
She didn't have the education to give it. She didn't have the academic education, but she had the other, you know, pieces of it. So I'm grateful for it. So that's what I'm extending to my child.
So I'm changing gears. In 2010, we all witnessed what happened in Haiti,
Yes.
and almost 300,000 people
Yeah, died. Yes.
died during that time. I was very heartbroken because I worked with a sister that was from Haiti, and it was heartbreaking. I was glued to the TV. I'll be honest with you. I was glued to the TV every single day, seeing that, and um, it was sad to watch. How is the country now? Have you been since 2010, and how is the country now? And was your family affected?
So I thank you so much for bringing that up. I was here, of course, when it happened. It was devastating. I was very involved. I host events, of course, to raise money. If I remember correctly, I think we raised between 5 to 10 grand in the events that we host here locally in my area. And so I have been back to Haiti since it happened. It's very unfortunate what Haiti has experienced over the years. It's very unfortunate politically, and of course, with the climates and the disasters. It's unfortunate. I remember that day like it was yesterday because my grandmother still lives there. My other siblings and family, they're not there, but my grandmother is still there, and I remember not being able to get a hold of her. And I remember that feeling, going to sleep, not being able to know if she's alive or if she's dead. And if anybody knows me, they know I am a grandma girl. I love my grandmother. She's like my mom. So my heart was I was literally going to sleep heartbroken every single night. Every single night. But by the grace of God, after a few days, I heard back from her. She was okay. She's in the part of Haiti that wasn't really affected. We're more like towards the DR area, and we're surrounded by some big mountains, so we were safe.
Thank God.
But everywhere else in the Port-au-Prince and the main areas, it was damaged, devastating, devastating. And I've had friends who lost moms, dads, brothers, sisters, cousins, kids. I had a friend who lost her kid, her own child. And I had a friend, her mom was visiting the country when it happened, and the mother died. So it was a very devastating time for Haiti. I would like to say we've recovered, but then I'll be lying. We haven't recovered. I've been back. There were times when I went back, I want to say when Michel Martelly was the president, I went back. They did a really good job cleaning up. Things look really promising. But like every elections, it's a new start for Haiti. And so he was dismissed again. And so the new president took over, and as you know, he's dead now. They murdered him, and we don't really have a president now. So when I talk about Haiti, it's painful. It's painful being the first Black freed country in the Western Hemisphere, yet being the poorest country there.
Crazy. It's just
the craziest thing. We were setting the standards for Black people in the Northern Americas. We were setting the standards for the Caribbean. We were setting the standards for Black people in captivity. Yet we can't get it together. And I cannot blame my people solely for it. Again, I don't get into politics. I'll let somebody else in that position do that. I can't just blame my people for it. I can't blame and I can't blame other countries entirely. But Haiti has been bullied. Haiti has been dismissed. Haiti has been manipulated. And it's just at a point where it's too late. Or is it too late? I don't even know. Is it too late? I don't know. But if we continue on that platform, we'll never recover. And who knows what might happen? We don't know. We don't know. But for those of us who are from there, for those of us who have family there, for those of us who still love our country, it's a painful situation. It's a painful reality to live with. It's a painful reality. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm just I wanted to for people to kind of get like a little bit of an update, because when things happen and it's no longer on the TV, nobody is asking any questions anymore. They
Yeah.
assume everything is okay, everything is going well. So I just wanted to, from your point of view, just to get an understanding of what has happened since then, and how everything was, you know, how you were impacted by it in any way. Was it your home country, regardless?
It is my home country, no matter what. Doesn't matter who I am, where I go, who I become. It is my home country, and I'm forever grateful to Haiti. I don't live there anymore, so I'm not fully updated on everything that is
Yeah,
happening. It
no,
just
of
comes to
course.
a point where you just don't even want to follow the news anymore. When it comes to the news, they're there to make money, and that's when I always tell people that you have to go to Haiti to experience it yourself.
Yeah,
Growing up, I remember they kind of make you afraid, even though you're from there, your own countries make your own people makes you afraid to honor your country.
yeah,
you know, and then you come here and you have the media who finds pleasure and showing the most destructive part of your country, knowing that there's beauty in it. I did not understand much about Haiti or even value much about Haiti until I was in college, and I decided to study more about it and decided to make a trip there by myself to
mm,
understand and learn more about the culture.
yeah,
And that's when I realized the beauty. I stayed in a beautiful hotel, and I'm like, what are they talking about? People living for, like, I went to some of the beautiful parts, and I'm like, wow, why aren't we showing this?
yeah,
And this is where Haiti is being manipulated. Every country has terrible, terrible political, well, not terrible, but we all have horrible parts of our country. You know,
yeah,
aesthetically, like, visually and
yeah,
politically, and in all of that, all other aspect. And Haiti has some issues, yes, of course, lots of issues, too many to mention. There are the poverty level there is great. There are poor people, there are poor parts, there are disgusting parts, there are kids suffering. But
yeah,
then what about the beautiful parts?
yeah. I always wondered that.
What
Everyone,
about the beautiful, gorgeous, absolutely please? I mean, I saw these things for myself, and I'm like, wow, why aren't we showing these?
yeah,
What is the pleasure of showing this little girl walking barefoot and naked, but yet you can't show this little girl who grew up in the country, went out and made something great of ourselves and working for FEMA and speak five, six different languages in her own country and making a difference? What about that part? What about the beautiful monuments? What about the beautiful beaches and the mountains? We have some of the greatest mountains in the Caribbean. That's why it was called the Pearl of the Caribbean. What about those sites, the beaches, the water, the mountains, what about them? They don't show you those. They won't. They can't.
yeah.
Politically, it's not really fulfilling their agenda, so they won't. So that's the reality we have to live with, and that's not just Haiti; it's many other countries
Oh no,
too.
it's everywhere. I was constantly angry. I started being upset about it when they showed like my country. They showed my country and they didn't show it in a good light every time. Yes,
Yeah,
we
because
have
if we go around
rural
America,
areas. We do
yeah,
have rural areas. Yes, there's a lot of people that are in poverty, extreme poverty. And yes, we do have malnutrition, but you can't not constantly show that part. What about
they
everything else?
defined us by that, especially colored countries. That's what they defined us by. And it's unfortunate and it's upsetting sometimes. I mean, think about it. Let's go around America and start filming all the terrible parts.
Yeah,
Shall
yeah,
we? Can we
yeah,
also go in Europe? I've been to Europe. Europe is beautiful, but can we go around Europe and start filming all the terrible, dirty parts, the filthy garbages that they have, garbage they have all over? Can we film that? Can we
Yeah.
really focus on that?
Yeah.
But no, we don't. We don't. We think of Europe and we go, oh, pleasing to the eyes. And yes, it is. But so is Haiti. So is, you know, Zimbabwe. So
Yeah.
is
Everywhere else.
Nigeria. So is
Yeah.
Kenya. So is, Panama, Guatemala.
Yeah.
So is
It's,
Jamaica. Like, I can go on.
yeah. But you,
Yeah,
my
it's a
dear, are
political agenda we'll
representing.
never understand.
You are representing your country really
Yes.
well. You should be proud to where you are, the work you've done on yourself, and the work you've done for the community that you continue to do.
Thank you.
Your bio is just a little bit of a little bit of your achievement, but you do more than that. Do you feel fulfilled?
Um, yes.
Good.
Yes, and thank you for asking that. I didn't used to feel fulfilled before. I lived my life on survival mode, so it was always what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? And um I've had to I've finally come to peace with my life where I can pat myself in the back and say good job. And
Mm,
I do feel fulfilled. I mean, I have many goals and dreams like everyone else, of course. You know, anybody can start a school of, well, I shouldn't say anybody, but if you're really focused, you can, I believe it, anybody and everyone are capable of doing anything if
yeah.
that's what you want. Okay. So
Yep.
I don't put a label on anybody, but um, I don't look at the school as ultimate success or fulfillment for me. So when you ask me, do I feel fulfilled? I say yes, because um, I'm not just looking at one aspect in my life. I'm looking at all aspect. And when it's like math, it's like, doing statistics. You put all the pieces together, and then overall, the end results is what's really it's the reality, right? So the end results of all the combinations of my life, when I look at it, yes, I'm fulfilled. Yes,
It takes a lot of us to get to that point because we're
yes.
always chasing. So it's good to have that.
It's good to chase. Don't stop chasing until
Yeah.
if you're waking up, you can't pay your bills, you better keep chasing. If you
Yeah.
if you if you're still self-sabotaging, which self-sabotaging is something that we all struggle with. I struggle with that. And there's always room to achieve more, to grow. So I'm still growing, I'm still learning, I'm still achieving, but fulfillment, you have to feel fulfilled enough where you can say, I'm proud of this, I'm proud of that, or I'm happy where I'm at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good. That's good. Have you found your concrete pastures?
Ooh. I want to say yes. I want to say yes. I think I have found my concrete pasture. Or pastures rather, because I can have
Yeah.
more than one. Right?
Yeah.
um, I feel like I think my concrete pasture is um, being able to make a difference
Mm.
at the capacity. We all can make a difference, big or small.
Yeah.
But knowing what I have been through, what I've experienced, the battles that I've fought, the challenges that I've overcame, and to still be able to do what I do and make a difference at a massive level, I think that's my concrete pasture. And it doesn't have to be through the school, because now I do like other stuff. I have a woman empowerment event that I do every year. I keep telling myself, don't host it. It's too much time and money. And then every now and then I get a call, are you going to host this event? I'm like, oh, I guess I'm hosting it again. So it's not just through the school. I find myself making differences in different areas now.
Yeah.
And I would not have been able to do that without my experiences, the journey and the challenges that I've been through. So my concrete pasture is being able to make a difference.
And you're doing that very well for our
Thank you.
whole community in the diaspora. I'm grateful to you for honoring us again with your story, for being here. It's early in the morning, even though we are on the same time zone.
Yes.
I know you're so busy, so I am so grateful for the time that we've been able to have this conversation.
Right. And thank you so much for considering me, for accepting me on this platform. Thank you for what you do. It's not taken for granted. I hope you're not taking it for granted. You're giving people like me a platform to share my stories that is making a difference in thousands of lives. And I can't wait to see what Concrete Pastures will be doing in the near future.
Thank you so much, my dear. Thank you. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, and thank you again. Now we go and be fabulous women and take care of the babies and do what we do.
Of course.